And that's for the piggies in every US city thinking a seat in the back row is Porsche because of European history. They miss seeing the monocle though, so I be in the front row on days I am making dough. All alone, in the zone, on the phone, until the trailers go off the screen, along with all those production companies that never did a thing for me.
Will Gluck, a familiar name in 2026's box office, shoehorns in now familiar faces Callum Turner and Monica Barbaro to star in a romantic comedy, One Night Only, that plays upon similar notes that writer Travis Braun already hit in the early 2020s with Anyone But You. Once again, here is a film where the main Caucasoid cast can't hold a candle to the more ethnically exotic supporting actresses. Sydney Cole Alexander as the catfish specifically comes to mind, as well as Quintessa Alexander, who gets stuck in a role as Barbaro's roommate when she should be the main attraction. Despite relegating the best of the cast to the position of DEI hires, Braun's script contains enough wit to be entertaining while pandering to all the tropes that would get this film to pass for a date night. It's really messed up when by the end of this film, plain Jane Barbaro ends up living a Cinderella fantasy where she gets to essentially sample and shut down every Western male breadwinner archetype. From an art thief to fulfill that hybristophilic fix, to a recording artist, to a metaphorically nice Batman. While Turner gets stuck with a mate who starts off the film threatening infidelity, ends up getting stood up by a bartender, and capsizes his night by being abandoned by his sugar mama because he lives with his actual mama. Sure, Turner's character runs a pizza shop, but it's a family business that he's inherited, further propagating the caliber of white knight Western women should expect if they want to keep running that expectation into the ground, which they are. A Huxleyan romantic comedy with a purge twist isn't going to fix the birth rate or rein in females' expectations to adapt to the current marketplace, whether in economics or in mating. The idea that in the film's reality, the chastity policy that brings about the one night only title is the biggest joke of all, that the populace, despite all their protest, voted for that policy and refused to buck back at their government, instead opting to comply and be monitored to the point that every citizen's procreative activity has to be monitored via digital barcode tattoo. These people. And it isn't like there aren't laws on the books around the world that currently prohibit sexual activity and acts of PDA that people either turn a blind eye to and let ride or are in open support of. Beyond the Dunkin' Donuts and Durex ads, One Night Only also contains not-so-subliminal messaging that hints that the chastity mandate is only a U.S. thing, and that other places around the world, such as Cuba and Sierra Leone, are not so arrogantly and boldly fascist as to double down on that whole treating people like cattle thing and tell their citizens when and where they can copulate. Well, with single taxes and the Western system always being against proletariats without partners and families, this Orwellianistic caveat has been present subtly, whereas in Gluck's film, the premise is more overt, pointing its viewers to greener pastures beyond a populace that would be comfortable complying to reproductive tyranny as long as their eyes are open wide enough to read the subterranean signs on the Bowery line.
Pop your popcorn. That's for the piggies in every US city thinking a seat in the back row is Porsche because of European history. They miss seeing the monocle though, so I be in the front row on days I am making dough. All alone, in the zone, on the phone, until the trailers go off the screen, along with all those production companies that never did a thing for me.